This is a story no one saw coming. At least, not like this. A woman in my neighborhood tried to take my house. No, seriously. It all started with a little neighborhood dispute. Karen, as people call her. But what followed was something out of a true crime thriller. Something no one would believe if they didn't see it with their own eyes. Let me take you through it. The HOA had been acting strange for months. Suddenly, I was getting violations for things that didn't even make sense. My fence was too tall. My lawn wasn't perfect enough. The crazy part? I hadn't changed a thing. The letters kept piling up. More fines, more threats. They said if I didn't comply, they'd foreclose on my house. And the ringleader? Mrs. Karen herself. A woman who had nothing better to do than terrorize my neighborhood with petty complaints. I tried to ignore it, tried to keep a low profile, but she wouldn't let up. One day, a letter showed up that shook me to my core. A legal notice. Failure to comply will result in foreclosure. Wait for closure? How could they? I hadn't broken any rules. That's when I found out something mind-blowing. Karen wasn't just an HOA enforcer. She had ties to the bank. Not just any bank, either the one holding my mortgage. A quick search revealed she'd been the bank's point person for local real estate deals for years. But it didn't end there. I had a neighbor, someone who'd seen more than they should have. They came to me with a story. The HOA wasn't just about property management. No, they were looking to buy up houses on the cheap, and I was their next target. They weren't after a fine. They wanted my house, and they were going to take it by force if they had to. But here's where it gets crazy. My neighbor had heard Karen speaking on the phone. She was working with a mystery person, discussing how to manipulate the bank's foreclosure process. There was talk of fake violations and pressuring homeowners. But why? Why my house? There was something about it, something about my property that made it prime for a shady deal. Then I found out something even worse. The woman had been running this scheme for years. People had lost their homes. Entire neighborhoods had been targeted. But no one knew who was behind it. Just a handful of coincidences, right? No, it was all planned. Karen was more than just a bad neighbor. She was the mastermind. The thing is, though, I wasn't the first victim. And as I dug deeper, it got worse. The evidence was building. Text messages, phone calls, bank records. It all started pointing to something far more sinister. It wasn't just about my house anymore. This was a conspiracy, a racket that stretched far beyond my neighborhood. And Karen wasn't working alone. I had to act fast. I went to the police, but they didn't believe me. HOA dispute, they said. The system was corrupt. I couldn't trust anyone, not even my own neighbors. The more I uncovered, the more I realized how deep this went. But Karen wasn't done. She knew I was onto her. One night, I came home to find my front door wide open. No sign of forced entry. It felt like she was watching me. But I wasn't afraid anymore. I was ready. That's when I found it. A hidden file in my own mailbox, containing fake documents, forged signatures, and evidence of a huge land deal in the works. The deal was going down in just days. It was all coming together. But then I got a phone call. "Karen, I know what you're doing," she said, her voice cold. "You should have stayed quiet." The line went dead. That was my warning. The game was on. I knew I had one chance to stop this. I needed proof. Concrete proof. I couldn't trust anyone. Not even the cops. They were probably involved. And just when I thought I had it all figured out, my world came crashing down. Someone close to me betrayed me. Someone I trusted completely. I couldn't believe it. And now, they were helping Karen cover her tracks. I had one last move, but would it be enough? Would I survive this twisted game? Or would Karen get away with it all? It all comes down to this. The next part will blow your mind. So, remember that betrayal I mentioned? It was her, my best friend, Tara, the one person I thought had my back through everything. Tara had been helping me gather all the evidence. We were up late, piecing things together, texting about the fake documents, the bank deals, the shady HOA violations. I thought she was in it for the same reason I was, to expose Karen and stop her. I was wrong. Tara called me that night, right after I found a file in my mailbox. It was a strange call, something in her voice that made me pause. It wasn't like her. She sounded distant, almost like she was reading from a script. "Are you sure you want to do this?" she asked. That's when I knew something was off. I didn't answer her. I was too busy staring at the documents. Shaky, unverified contracts that linked my property to some shady corporate land grab. Karen was part of something bigger, something illegal. Then the call ended abruptly. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. A few minutes later, Tara was at my door. I couldn't believe it. She came in, all smiles, but her eyes were different. It was like I was seeing a stranger. And then she dropped the bomb. "You're making a huge mistake. You need to let this go." I was confused. "What do you mean?" "You know what's happening. Karen is stealing my house. This is bigger than just an HOA dispute." Tara took a deep breath, glanced at the door, and then whispered, "It's not just your house, it's ours." "What the hell? Ours?" Tara's words hit me like a ton of bricks. I stared at her, trying to make sense of what she was saying. But then she said it, the thing that would change everything. "I'm part of the deal. I've been working with Karen for months now. I've been feeding her information." The floor seemed to drop out from under me. My best friend had been secretly helping the woman who was trying to steal my home? But why? The betrayal cut deep. She continued, "You never should have started digging. You don't understand. You don't know what you're messing with. Karen's just the middlewoman. This is much bigger than you think. There are people, powerful people, who want these properties, and I'm getting paid for my silence." I was speechless. The anger inside me was bubbling up, but I kept calm. "What do you mean, powerful people?" I asked, barely able to get the words out. "I can't explain it all," Tara said, looking over her shoulder as though someone might be listening. "But Karen's been in this game for years. And the bank, they knew exactly what she was doing. They were in on it. There's a whole network of people, real estate investors, even politicians, who need these houses. They're building something big, something we're all tied to." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Was this all some kind of underground conspiracy? Was Tara really working for these people? My mind was racing, piecing together every conversation. Every moment I thought I could trust her. The clues were there all along, but I hadn't seen it. Before I could respond, Tara grabbed a file from my hands. "I'm sorry," she said, voice trembling, "but you can't stop it. You're already in too deep." She was about to leave, but I grabbed her arm. "Tara, you're not doing this. I'm going to the cops. I'll expose you both. All of it. This ends now." And then she did something I'll never forget. Tara looked me dead in the eye and whispered, "You're not going to the cops. You're not going anywhere." Her eyes flickered to the door. I froze. Suddenly, I heard it. The sound of a car pulling into the driveway. Too fast. Too soon. And before I could even process it, the door burst open. Two men. Big. Imposing. One of them was holding a badge. "A cop?" "Step away from her," the man said, his voice cold. He was wearing a police uniform, but something about his presence felt wrong. Tara stepped back, looking almost relieved. My stomach dropped. This wasn't just a coincidence. The man flashed his badge again. "This is a police matter. We're taking her with us." I looked at Tara. Her face was pale. She didn't fight it. The cop reached forward to grab her arm, but then something shocking happened. Tara looked back at me and mouthed, "Don't go after me. It's too late." And just like that, they were gone. Tara was gone. I stood there, feeling the weight of everything crash down on me. What just happened? I had just watched my best friend walk out with a cop who wasn't a cop. No, he was a plant. She wasn't betraying me. She was trapped. This wasn't just about my house anymore. It was about something much darker. They had control over her, and now they had control over me too. I had to act fast. Tara was a pawn in their game. They were closing in on me, and I had no idea who to trust. But there was one thing I did know. I was in danger. This wasn't some simple HOA scandal. This was a coordinated attack, and I was their next target. But I had one thing they didn't: evidence. I still had those fake documents, the records, the shady emails. Everything tied back to Karen and that cop. But the big question was, who else was involved? Who was the mastermind? And could I even get the truth out before they silenced me too? I wasn't backing down. But my time was running out. Note, in the next part, the truth will finally come to light. Who's behind this entire operation? And what's going to happen when the walls close in on the final showdown? The stakes have never been higher. I couldn't breathe. Tara was gone. The cop, or whatever he really was, had taken her. And with her, my last chance of stopping this nightmare. I was alone, and things were escalating faster than I could process. I stood there, shaking, staring at the empty doorway. What just happened? The door slammed shut, and I snapped out of my daze. I had to act. But where do I even start? They had Tara, they had my house, and now they had something worse. The evidence. I quickly snatched the file from my table, the one Tara had tried to grab, and began rifling through it again. The contracts, the emails, the forged signatures. It all pointed back to Karen. But I wasn't seeing the whole picture. There was something missing. A name, a connection. Why my house? Why was it so important? I scanned the pile again, and then there was a name in the corner of one of the contracts I hadn't paid attention to before. A name that shouldn't have been there. Jared Blake. I froze. My heart skipped. Jared Blake was the CEO of one of the largest property investment firms in the country, and one of Karen's most powerful backers. This wasn't just about small-time land grabs. This was about power. This was a corporate conspiracy. And that's when I put together Jared Blake, the powerful investor who controlled billions in real estate, was using Karen to manipulate the housing market. He wasn't just targeting any neighborhood. He was buying up entire blocks of prime property. And I was in his sights. But why? I couldn't stop shaking. If I could connect the dots between Jared Blake, Karen, and the fake foreclosure scheme, I could take them all down. But I had to act fast. They knew I had the evidence. They were probably watching me right now. I grabbed my phone, but before I could call anyone, it rang. The screen lit up with an unknown number. My pulse raced. "Hello," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "You shouldn't have done this." The voice on the other end was calm. Too calm. "You're digging too deep." It was Jared Blake. I could hear the smirk in his voice. "You don't even know what you're up against," he continued. "You think you're the first one to stumble into our little game? You're just another pawn. Tara? She's been paid. You won't see her again. But I'm offering you a choice. Walk away now. Leave the evidence behind. Forget everything, and you can keep your house. Keep your life. Otherwise," I gripped the phone tighter. Otherwise, you'll be nothing but a memory. You'll disappear like the rest of them. This is bigger than you, bigger than your neighborhood. It's bigger than you can ever imagine. The call ended abruptly. My stomach churned. Disappear like the rest of them? I had no choice now. I had to go public, or I'd be next. But how could I trust anyone? The cops were involved. Tara had betrayed me, or was she forced into it? The stakes were higher than I thought. I decided to go to the one person I knew might help. Detective Ryan, the one cop in the city I trusted. He'd been my only ally when things started getting weird. But after what had just happened, I didn't know if he was on my side anymore. I called him, told him everything. I needed him to meet me. "Don't trust anyone else," he said when he picked up. "I'm coming over, but you need to be careful." I barely had time to process his warning when there was a knock at the door. I froze. My heart pounded in my chest. This was it. Either I was walking into an ambush, or I was about to get the help I needed. I cautiously opened the door, and to my surprise, it was Ryan. But he didn't look like himself. His eyes were wide, panicked. "Where's the evidence?" he demanded. I didn't answer. I backed away slowly. Something wasn't right. Ryan's hand shot out, grabbing my wrist. His grip was too tight. "Listen, you don't get it," he hissed. "You don't have a clue who you're dealing with. The people you think you can trust, they're all in on it. All of them." My brain screamed in disbelief. What was he talking about? "Including me," Ryan whispered, his grip tightened as he pulled me closer. I was trapped. He pulled out a small piece of paper from his pocket and slid it into my hand. A single word, Blake, the name of the man behind it all. Your fight's not with Karen, he said, eyes dark. It's with Blake. You're not going to win this. None of us are. I couldn't breathe. I was choking on the truth. It was all connected. Every part of the scheme, every person in the HOA, even Tara. And Ryan? He had been part of it the entire time. Now I was really in deep. And then there was a loud bang from outside. The front door slammed open. Men in suits poured into the room, guns raised. They had found me. No, what happens next? Who can I trust? Will I escape the trap that's closing in on me? Or will I become another casualty of Jared Blake's empire? Stay tuned for more.